For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's third practice of fall camp. The Trojans had Sunday off, came back Monday, and put on shoulder pads. Now, Dan, I know you can always tell more from this team when pads come on versus when there's no pads. What did you learn from the team today?
Well, I thought it was a smooth transition from the no pads because they went so physical without the pads that by adding the pads, I don't think they changed that much until they started doing some scrimmaging. And then I think what we learned was they don't know what the meaning of thud is, and they changed it to tackle because, each time they got out there, you had a couple of thuds, and then the rest of it, everybody was on the ground. And as much as that's like pleasing to those of us who didn't think they were physical enough last year, I think Clay made the point to them afterwards that when we tell you we want you to thud, we really want you to thud. Yeah. And we understand, that you guys really want to get out there and get after it, which is, I think it's, after last year, I think you really did enjoy seeing that, but that wasn't what they wanted to do. They didn't want to get anybody hurt. I think, you were going to mention who may have gotten roughed up a little bit, but I thought overall they handled the physicality pretty well, and it got us to see what the run game might look like a little bit.
Yeah. To preview our injury portion of Instant, Jordan Iosefa came out early because he tweaked his knee. Hilton said that he'll be getting an MRI tonight to see what that's about. And then on the final kind of team period play, Amon-Ra St. Brown came down hard. It was hard to see just because we were kind of blocked by the defensive guys on the sideline, but Amon-Ra did not go back in for the last couple of plays. But he did. Dan saw some work on the jug, so he didn't seem completely out of the action. But what are you expecting from those guys going forward?
No, I thought, I don't know with Jordan. I think Clay did talk about how, pleased they are with, with John Houston and Palaia inside, and that if Jordan, isn't there, they think they've got a lot of guys playing pretty well. The name he mentioned and that you can't get over, mentioning is freshman Raylan Goforth. He just keeps knocking people around. I mean, he was here in the spring. And he delivers a blow. He's a very impressive kid, but big and strong, and as Clay said, really well coached. He's been a revelation, I think, almost every practice.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about the running backs when we got to talk to Clay Helton today. It was a Helton-only scrum, so that's why we only got to talk to him. But another preview of the injury section, Devai Malapay. I mentioned on Saturday that he finished practice with the trainers. We weren't sure what that was about. Clay Helton said that he essentially tweaked his knee, but the MRI came back negative, so that's at least positive news for Vi there. But with him out, you got to see more of Stephen Carr, Marquise Stepp, and even the freshman Keenan Kristen. Helton had good things to say about all of them. He said Stephen Carr has that spark back, which I know a lot of USC fans were concerned about, that spark that he had in his freshman year. And then Marquise Stepp can pretty much do it all, as well as Keenan Kristen. Clay Helton said that it's easy to tell why he was one of the best track runners in the state. So what did he have to say about those guys and how they plan to use them this season?
Yeah, I mean, far be it for me to criticize that comment, but he wasn't just one of the best track guys. He was the best track guy in the state. And, and you just see what kind of a threat he is. If say the quarterback, they got a blitz on or whatever, and the quarterback can outrun the blitzers and dump the ball off to Keenan. I mean, they got in the red zone. I guess they were like 8 or 9 yard line, and hit him, on a swing pass, and he had one guy between him and the flag. I don't think that guy came anywhere. Couldn't have hit him, with a baseball bat. He was that far. I mean, he just accelerated by him like, big deal. Boom. That was impressive. I thought he delivered he got a goal line rushing attempt and delivered a blow really well at the goal line. Very impressive with him. Stephen Carr from the first play at 9-on-7 made a cutback run. You can call it a touchdown or not, but he just, the defense is really pursuing hard and trying to show what they can do, and he cut back on him. And, that burst, definitely was there. And he did that 2 or 3 times today. And Marquise Stepp, has kept his weight at 230, and he's got the ability to, tiptoe down the sidelines, he can catch the ball, and he could run with power and carry people with him. So I thought, from the standpoint of, well, we're going to get the shoulder pads on, we're going to see him block the run and then actually run the run. I thought that was very, very positive today from the run standpoint.
Yeah. As far as how that changes for the D-line and O-line, what did you see from those guys, and how did that affect quarterback play when there's more pressure coming at them?
Well, it's hard to, this is where you want to say, I need to see the film, or the video or whatever to start picking out guys, on the line. I thought both of them, went after one another really well. I think the D-line looks like they're running to the ball, swarming to the football well. We saw one pass breakup from Drake Jackson where he was on Jack Sears before Jack Sears almost could get his head up. Just like, whoa, where did he come from? It's going to be hard, I think, to keep him off the field. He brings some, things you can't teach, things you can't find anywhere else, and it's some impressive stuff. It looks like they're working hard. Other than that, we don't, without the benefit of seeing the film, it's hard to pick out this guy or that guy. One of the things we like is you're not seeing any snaps on the ground. That's really a good thing. The plays get run. Not many penalties as far as the line guys are concerned. A couple of jumps, but for as hard as they're going at it, and you didn't get a sense today that whether they had shoulder pads or full pads, that there was a difference much in terms of how they approached today. And for those again who've been a little leery of the ability to for this team with this coaching staff to play with physicality, today was a really positive thing, even if they went over the line.
Yeah. As far as quarterbacks go, what are you seeing from them? What do you want to see from them? It looks like Keenan Slovis continues to impress the coaches and us pretty much. What are you seeing from that whole group?
Well, I think they're really giving Keenan a chance to do some things, and they're matching him up with some of the better receivers, and he's in there with the right groups. Whereas we were kidding about it for a while there. You were thinking, is JT ever going to be matched up with a scholarship wide receiver? He'd be in there and there'd be 3 walk-ons and out of 4 or whatever. So and that could be a case of they know what JT can do. Now they want to see what can somebody like a Keaton do when he's mixed in there with the good guys. Thought he had a good day today. He had one or so periods were maybe not quite as accurate, but he scrambled pretty well. JT, I guess, threw the first touchdown pass in the 9-on-7 on a play action where he, very nicely threw a deep middle touchdown. But I think they all hit their moments. I think Matt Fink's arm. We see a bigger, stronger Matt Fink. I think his arm is he's able to throw the deep ball that maybe we didn't always see. And I think Jack Sears had some scramble situations. They actually, I think, ran almost like a quarterback power at the goal line. So, so they are, coming up with stuff for each of those guys individually. But they're definitely, all 4 of them are getting a chance. Matt, maybe not quite as much because of his injury and his surgery, but it hadn't changed in terms of how they're mixing and matching. They're all getting to go.
Mm-hmm. Clay Helton credited USC's cornerbacks for making instinctive plays so far in fall camp, especially Elijah Griffin, as we mentioned, 3 interceptions in 2 fall camp practices. Greg Johnson had an interception today, and Clay Helton credited defensive backs coach Greg Burns today for uniting that group, teaching them some good technique, and we kind of have a front row to that during some parts of practice. What are you seeing from Greg Burns?
He's really impressive. He's got the ability to be specific and clear. Yeah. He's got the ability, just watching him teach how they want him to, if they're playing man, and how they want him to, hit the guy and then turn and run and yet control, and where they want their, hands and where they want their eyes, and just to go over it and over it and over it and make the right points as he's doing it. And he does a terrific job. I couldn't be more impressed with Greg Burns. And when you got guys like, Elijah and Isaac Taylor Stewart and Greg Johnson and I think Adonis Odie and who else was in that group that Clay was mentioning?
Castillo.
Chris Steele,
Yeah.
Chris Steele for sure. Max Williams, whether he's in that group or not, because he's got the ability maybe to go a couple of different ways. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of athletes. There are a lot of bodies, and it doesn't have the feel at all of recent years when you didn't know if there were enough bodies. You didn't know what you get when we get to see them so up close is they really pay attention to Greg Burns, and they do what he says. Last year, it was kind of optional whether you wanted to do what the coach told you or not. And that didn't do anybody any good. So this is a whole different feel for it. And they do a whole lot of things together where everybody's expected to be on the money and on the call. And he's really demanding and yet in a good way, a very upbeat kind of a way. But he will not hesitate to call out what he wants, and got a good voice and he's got a good arm. I mean, he throws it when he's running, when they're running patterns, and and they got to react to him and all that. He runs a good quarterback spot too. So it's, I think, really been an upgrade there.
Yeah, I think Chris Hawkins is also pretty helpful, especially with the safeties as well. Like I mentioned, the injury report for USC today, Mananoa Tufono did not practice today. It looked like he had a pretty good limp there, so he was out. Jake Lichtenstein out again. Solomon Tuliaupupu was out. I think for Solomon going forward, we're probably just going to update you if he does do something. It seems like he's out for a while there. And then Vivai Malapai, as I mentioned, was not dressed out today. John Jackson, the wide receiver, was doing more rehab work today, so it looks like he kind of is getting closer with that hamstring.
He's running well. I mean, I'm stunned at how well he rehabbed and how quickly he came back. I don't think they're letting him push it too much. They're kind of keeping the clamps on him and saying no, we don't want you to. And they sent him in, for about half the practice to go inside and rehab inside. But he really looks close to being back. And I'm kind of shocked after having seen it. So he did a great job of catching it, not tearing it completely, and then rehabbing it. Terrific job by John.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, Jordan Iosefa left early with a knee issue. Amon-Ra St. Brown with that undisclosed issue that he had when he took a hard hit. And then Austin Jackson was shut down early, halfway through, but he was able to do some team period today, which we haven't seen, with shoulder pads, so that at least is an improvement. And then Drew Richmond, the transfer tackle, did in practice in the trainer's tent. Not sure what that was about, but just thought about updating you guys about that. But as far as accountability goes, I know that was the word of Pac-12 Media Day. It seems like we saw a lot of that today. Clay Helton was sure to watch the punishment of bear crawls for Chris Steele and Dominic Davis. They had to do pretty much the entire 2 fields of bear crawls, and it was a struggle, especially for Chris Steele. He got some encouragement from his teammates to finish that up, but we're not exactly sure what the punishment was, but that was a pretty hefty one because bear crawls are not fun. And then the team also as a whole did some running lines at the end of practice. So we're seeing a little bit different conditioning, some accountability there.
Clay also mentioned about the things he cautioned him about, and he said, we know you're going to be hot and it's chippy, get it chippy out there. And I don't think it was all that encouraging comments. I believe it was directed toward the bear crawls, was something to the effect of, this ain't the Trinity League.
Yes.
So I like that. I thought that was a kind of a perfect chippy end to the day.
Yeah, so some teammates were encouraging, some were not. But Dan, what are you expecting going forward? Tuesday will be shoulder pads again, and then Wednesday, Clay Helton said, will be the first full pad practice. What are you expecting from the next couple days?
Well, I mean, I just think maybe they will turn them. Well, they can't really turn them loose. You can't tackle until you get full pads, but they're going to be closer to that. I would think they'll probably maybe not quite, have as many guys go to the ground tomorrow, but I think they'll get a chance to refine what they were doing in the run game tomorrow. And I'm just going to be interested in when do we see kind of a specific matching of receivers and quarterbacks and all that. I don't think we've seen much of that. If we've seen any of it, it's maybe seeing Keaton Slovis with some of the top wide receivers to see how he adjusts to them. But that'll, and I don't know when that's going to happen or how that's going to happen. But I just think the more work they do on the run game and the more they feel like, boy, we got some guys that the more they realize Stephen Carr looks like Stephen Carr. Or Marquis Stepp is the guy we saw that lost 15 pounds in the spring, and he can do a lot of things. Or, Keenan Kristen, boy, he's fast.
Yeah.
And he can catch it and go with it, although they did try him out. They had 8 guys tried the kickoff return spot, and he was the only one that didn't quite catch it. So we're not sure if he's done much of that or not, but he certainly caught it in the 9-on-7, 11-on-11.
Yep. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up for day 3 of USC's fall camp. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.